AI, while incredibly empowering, is actually culturally pushing us back to very analog thing, right? How many of us, myself included, are like, I hate my smartphone now. Like, I want to just have a normal phone at my house, which I do now, don't use it all that much, but it is there. Or my kids playing outside again. And like just the draw, there's a greater incentive to get them out of in front of a screen for a multitude of reasons, but one of them is now the fear of just AI slop being everywhere. I don't want them to see most of what's online anyway, but that I really don't care for them. It's good. It's good.
Yes. I feel that resourcing thing.
Yeah. Now, where are you right now?
In Medford.
Oh, you are? Okay. So you're not out and about and traveling and trying to figure out what's what.
Yeah. No, I got home. When did I get home? I think I've been home for 2 nights now.
Okay. Is that going to last?
Sunday I head to Santa Clara.
Okay, so not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. And that one's a super short one. I'll be back like Wednesday, Thursday at the latest.
Excellent.
Yes.
Jet setting, huh?
Right. Yeah. So it went Amsterdam for KubeCon, then PyTorch in Paris, and then Open Source and Finance Forum in Toronto. It was,
a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many events do you end up doing a year?
That is a ripping question. I don't know. I should count it up.
Okay. A lot is the answer.
A lot. Yeah. So I use the app TripIt. Because it'll put all the important info. It creates an itinerary for you. You just forward your airline, all your confirmation emails you forward to a generic email, and it creates your itinerary. So then, when you show up at the airport and they go, "Hey, what's your confirmation number?" I was like, I have no idea. So you just open TripIt and it tells you. So it counts up the number of days you've been on the road, and it was shocking. It was a lot last year.
Yeah. Do you ever not forget to book the trip?
So far, no. It's all. I have showed up at the wrong hotel. Right city, wrong hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was back before I was using TripIt, and flew into Berlin, pulled up the app, or pulled up the event website, found a hotel, went there, said, "I'm here to check in." They're like, "We don't have a record of you." And I'm like,
"No."
Yeah. So I'm stressing, but it's like, "You're on this has got to be the right one." And "Can we see the website?" So I showed them gave them my phone, and they were, "We're an overflow hotel. We're not."
Oh,
Not the main hotel. You want this one over here. So that was exciting.
Yeah. Sorry, I just skipped out there. Yeah. I mean, that's brutal. That would freak me out if I was in Berlin.
Right?
You're
like, "No." And I had a team member with me who hadn't traveled internationally before then, and I'm sure he was stressing out big time, but it all worked out. Back in the cab, cross town.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Could be worse. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Adding to it, you're talking about events where there's a decent chance the hotels are pretty booked up at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Sorry, we're all sold out. Let's see here. We should get this thing going. Hey, quick question before we jump in. I'm assuming you were the planner and did most of it for the Ruby on Rails stuff, the events that you created.
You mean way back in the day?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to a large extent.
Have you done a bunch since then? I'm sure you've done events I don't know about, but
yeah, not planning them. I mean, to a certain extent, I've been organizer on committees for events, but like the day in, day out planning of it, no. I've mostly spoken at them, attended them, stuff like that. But organizing committee is about the extent of it.
So I'm guessing, like, how much input did you have on like COCHA? Were you in?
Oh, let's think about that. Well, it wasn't a huge volume of input on the grand scheme of things. So I was asked to keynote it. And so it was mostly like dialogue around like what the shape of that would be. Way back in the day, that was different. So certainly way back in the day. So, we're 15 years ago. Yes, I was very active in all of that. Yeah, okay. Very, very active.
Well, cool. So I've got a little welcome intro. It's pretty much, actually, I'll just read it off and we'll go. Welcome, Adam. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. I know you've been an event stakeholder, an event planner, driving the development and direction for events. Can you tell the listeners about your background? Take it away.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you were going to read it to me. And then I was like, oh yeah, sounds great. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So I have been a part of event planning for a really long time because I started as an actor. So
yeah,
the idea of being in event planning has been familiar to me for a long time. Most of my event planning would have been during my time at Zeal. So we're talking, and at Dutch Bros, we're talking about 10, 15 years ago. I was the VP of marketing for a while at Dutch Bros Coffee, and we would do these franchise events where we'd bring franchisees from around the country into one place. Oftentimes it was like Bend, Oregon or Sun River, Oregon, if you know where that's at. And we would, throw these culture events, and we would throw kind of educational events and really rally franchisees into a single cause. That was a lot of what it was about. A lot of party-esque quality about it, even though it wasn't just to party. It was very culture driven. It was all about doing things that were to remind everybody that it's not just a business. And then when I moved on to my own companies, we did run an event in 2013 that was more designed for programmers and developers specifically. And so I think 4 countries were represented there, which was quite exciting into this little town in Medford.
Yeah.
And it involved 2 parts. Part 1 was a workshop that was multi-day. And then it concluded with a unconference. And we had a couple of column keynotes that came in, but mostly they were thought-provoking individuals. And then past that point, I continued on in software development conferences. I attended a lot of them. I spoke at a lot of them, and I helped organize the content tracks for many of them. So this was curating a specific track or selection. And then I also participated in a broader sense on the Ruby Central organization for both RailsConf, which at the time it was the only one in the world, and RubyConf, which was the biggest in the world as well. So a lot of event curation in that way.
That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was eye-opening in 2 ways. I would say the first was certainly that it's not that it's disorganized, but it's a ragtag team of people putting together a lot. And I certainly saw behind the curtain just how few people were pulling it off for how many. And also, speaking to people that were attending at conferences that had, thousands of people at them, not realizing, oh no, it's people just like you. They're just, they just happen to be in this position. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the world is people just like you. And yeah, I don't know why, but we don't realize that. It's just people putting in the work, getting it done. So, did you have a thought there? No, felt like I cut you off for a sec. So what's your favorite event that you've attended or produced? Either one.
The one that stands out was, in fact, a programmers conference. Was invited to speak at a Ruby programming conference in Australia, and they just went all out. I mean, they closed down a theme park for us to take over for a day.
Way.
It was wild. It took place at, I think it was a SeaWorld, like a SeaWorld Australia, the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And it was just astounding. And then it concluded with these excursions that we all had the chance to go on, but it was great food and coffee. I wasn't as aware that the Australian people were so into coffee, because I'm way into coffee. And they were, and they brought in an actual pour over an espresso cart for the attendees, which was just off the charts. My understanding is they didn't make their money back, but but it was amazing. The excursions were astounding. It just was an event. That's what I remember. It was just an event. And yes, there were also great talks there. That certainly, but that was more, the topping on the cake, and not necessarily what I would say it was about all the way. So I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing, but it certainly stood out.
I think it's always interesting what impresses individuals as to why it was their favorite event. Sometimes it's location, sometimes it's content, sometimes it's the hallway track and relationships that were created or strengthened. You never know, and it can be a combo of all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it is. I think that might be what I've observed is the hardest part of organizing a conference is deciding what those trade-offs are going to be. Who are you going to serve? And it might be easy to say, I'm going to serve everybody who, like in the case of programming, I'm going to serve everybody that's interested in this language and, the topic of AI or whatever it is. And very easily forget that many, many, many attendees are just there because that's where their friends are. And I noticed that, especially with software conferences, that these were the handful of opportunities that these folks would even get together.
Right.
They didn't see each other in any other way. And so facilitating opportunity for that was super important. And there was this push to fill every minute of the schedule with something and forget. No, most people just want to commune with they just want to network and spend time with friends. And the hallway track wasn't really a track. It was, no, this is just where everybody's hanging out.
Yeah.
Call it what you will.
Yeah. I've had fairly senior people tell me that they don't attend any sessions on site.
I don't.
And that they
I don't.
That they we'll see. You just validated that.
Yeah, not at all. I might attend an entire conference, one or two, maybe. And oftentimes I will sit near a door. Now, some of it is because I have very strong opinions about what dictates a quality conference talk.
Yeah.
And to me, if it's just a spoken blog post, I'm pretty uninterested pretty fast. And I think by and large, that's what they are. And so the talks I try and find are ones that are more, to a certain extent, for entertainment value. Like what's the thing that being live brings to this equation? And so I have a pretty strong sensitivity to blog post talks. But by and large, I don't, I used to spend time picking the talks I wanted to go to and whatnot. And I'm like, and I guess there's another quality. Okay, now you have me on my soapbox. But
yes.
I think there's another quality about it, which is how much can you actually learn in 30 minutes? It's hard to argue that you're going to learn that much. And so my strong opinion and my advice I often give to speakers is find your one thing. And said another way is, if you could implant a single idea, one single concrete idea into everybody that sat there, the thing you want to make sure that everybody gets, do everything it takes in your talk to just implant that single idea. But if you're going to talk about relational databases or scaling out things that take people years to be good at, and you think you're going to hit on it in 30 minutes, you're fooling yourself, right? You end up in the blog post talk because you're just going to go through stuff. And so instead, I'm like, what's a new way to share an idea? What's a way to implant a thought? What's a way to inspire a new viewpoint? And if all you made it was that, it's more than enough. And so I always look for that. And so because I don't often find it, I don't go a lot of talks.
So the person that told me this said that they start their day by watching a video from the talk, from the event.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you, does that ring true with you? Do you go back and watch the blog post talks?
Not really. Especially not now with how easy it is to digest any type of information. In my mind, they would become even less valuable because I can just ask AI what I want to learn about a thing and I'll get close enough. But with that being said, I have, but I will be frank, I go back to the talks that were entertaining. There's a couple of speakers that stand out. Brandon Weaver is one, Justin Searles is another, where their talks just had such great entertainment value and they were rich with content. And in both their examples, specifically with Justin Searles, his talks were always about principles, which by their nature are debatable. You're not talking about virtues, which by and large we all share. I think people of integrity will generally share the same virtues for the most part. But when you're talking about principles, it's a different story. You're like, oh, there's 5 ways to get there. I think this way is the right way, but you could easily debate that way 2 and 3 is also very effective. And what I've noticed with him is that he did an exceptional job at shaping a talk around a set of principles, and his way of expressing those principles was very expressive, very funny, very unique. And I always love that. And so I would often go back to his stuff for that very reason.
Now you make me want to listen to it or watch it. Yeah. Yeah, that's so fun. So back to the Australian conference, how big of a conference was that? How many attendees do you know?
That's a good question. I was thinking about it as I was saying it. I feel like it was well over 1,000. It was decently sized for sure. But I may be off, but I think it was about that, I would guess. Yeah. So not massive. It was not one of the big, huge mega conferences by any means, but.
Well, 1,000's a good size. That's a good size gathering of people.
Yeah, I went to, it would have been a long while ago. I went to Web Summit at one point, and what was the other one? Web Summit, and then they ran another one. I'm trying to think of what it was called in Vegas, or not Vegas, New Orleans. And, I think there was like 50,000 or 50,000 attendees. The talks were, 15 minutes apiece, but they were all heavy hitters, and I think they were running, it had to have been 10 tracks simultaneously. Like it was, it was one of those. Wow. And I remember going to it and going like, there is no way. I was listening to, I think it was a VP at PayPal, and he had 10 minutes. Like, what could he say in 10 minutes?
Yes.
It just, yeah. But
sometimes those lightning talks are good, but often it's just a speed run through some content.
I'm speed dating content. Yeah. Exactly.
Did the Australian conference, did they record? Did they make it? Oh, okay. So they got it extended beyond the event?
They did. Yeah, that was pretty common too. That for a good run there, everything was recorded. And I think this may still be true. Quite standard that everything be recorded and shared online on YouTube for free. Wow. And yeah, that conference certainly did that. And I believe, I don't know if that one did in particular, but others, they would live stream at least the keynotes, which was fantastic. I loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of, sometimes keynotes can become a sponsored, a run through of who sponsored what.
Yeah, I would say one thing that Ruby Central did that I did think was fantastic was they actually created a sponsors track, and kept sponsors out of the keynotes. Or at least explicitly. Very common, a keynote, because these were huge companies, Spotify or GitHub or something along those lines. Big organizations, they'd inevitably have people that were speaking on those keynotes, but I think they did a fantastic job of keeping the pitch out of them. And I remember being on the organizing committee, we would specifically look out for those. And when I was on the organizing committee, I think we went through 550 submissions.
Wow.
And there were 4 of us, maybe. Right. So, yeah, because we were over 100 each. And so, and the submission process lasted, I think it was probably 3 months, 4 months, but 80% came in the last 2 weeks. So we were constantly pushing people, please get it in early. And the added benefit of if you did was that we could coach you, because we could see, right?
Give you feedback,
Give you feedback, because there's no reason you couldn't iterate on it beforehand. It just had to get it in before the deadline. But no, certainly not. We get 80% of them through last. So, but we created a rubric and sort of like indicators that were like, oh, this is a pitch, this is too broad, stuff like that. And it was effective for sure. But that the track, now that I'm thinking about it, the track that I curated, 2 of the people in that track pitched, it wasn't a pitch, but they ended up presenting their idea that turned into acquired companies.
Oh, that's killer.
Big, well-acquired companies too. Both of them were multi-$100-million acquisitions. And they had sort of pitched it like they were presenting, this was their solution to these problems. And I was like, one of them was like, you've got a fantastic. I'm like, that is awesome. Well, yeah, it sure was. I think he sold it for a couple $100 million or something crazy. Good for him.
That's super fun.
Super fun.
Makes you want to, hey, let me invest.
Yeah.
Let me join up. I love the idea of a sponsored track. It allows the people that want to hear those talks to track them down and find them. And it gives the sponsors value for sponsoring an additional value add. Yeah.
Yeah. And in its way, it was kind of nice because they sort of, there was an incentive to bring value, right? There was a disincentive, or there was an incentive to put meat on the bone, because you were already, in its way, kind of attendance was handicapped by simply knowing that there was an opportunity to be pitched. Right? So you had to invest more into the quality of the content. And I found that they were fantastically full of content, because they had to create the incentive to not just stand up there and talk.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. So since it is 2026, are you doing anything fun with AI?
Oh boy. I just started getting into actually building models.
Okay.
Learning the mechanics of that. I can't say that it's fun yet, but it's very fascinating. I mean, as we all know right now, on this date,
right.
It is clearly the Wild West still.
Yes.
It hasn't solved all the problems. It hasn't taken over the world. It's certainly of substantial value. It's interesting you bring it up, though, because I'm a part of a product owners, product managers, executive product managers group. Just yesterday, we were talking about how AI, while incredibly empowering, is actually culturally pushing us back to very analog things, right? How many of us, myself included, are like, I hate my smartphone now. Like I want to just have a normal phone at my house, which I do now, don't use it all that much, but it is there. Or my kids playing outside again. And just the draw, there's a greater incentive to get them out of in front of a screen for a multitude of reasons. But one of them is now the fear of just AI slop being everywhere. And I'm like, the last thing I want them to see is just a bunch of junk, right? I don't want to see most of I don't want them to see. I don't want them to see most of what's online anyway. But that I really don't care for them to see.
Yeah.
So there's that. But for me, as a chief product and technology officer, there is truly a strong incentive for utilizing it to be more efficient and effective. And it is undeniable. In general, I'm a laggard. I wait way long to adopt new things. I don't get excited by fancy stuff, fancy tech, like at all. I have no desire for a Tesla or any of that. Like I just never do. So I'm almost always late to the game. And this is one where I certainly was. And then I would have these moments of clarity around all of it, and it would hit me like a ton of bricks. And so the first was, November 22 was when ChatGPT with the 3.5 model was released.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't care less. I was like, fun, it's writing an email. I already know how to do emails,
Right.
Then but at the time I was the president of a code school. And at the code school, of course, every pundit out there was like, within 6 months, every developer will be out of a job, right? There will be no need for creative people. There will be no need for thought work. It'll all be gone, And then, of course, 6 months passes and we're all still sitting there, all right? But at the time, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I need to I had used it, but I had never used it.
Mm-hmm.
And the pivotal moment was when I had taken a very abstract, convoluted piece of code. I had copy and pasted it into the interface, and I started asking it questions, and it could walk me through things. And it was a mental game changer. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And so I started using it for that. And then jettison a few years later, now it's to the point where I'm deep in the weeds of what I can build and prototype. And to that extent, it's scary. It's just really, really scary. Exciting and very scary. More than anything, I am legitimately scared for thought workers. And it's because, especially in our world, and I don't know if this is true, when it comes to things like video production or event organization and all that, is that from the outside, it appears like it's solving all the problems, right? And there's this kind of belief that any output is good output, and it's certainly not, right?
Right.
And so it's like, oh, well, now I can be, I can edit a movie.
Yes.
Right.
Sure.
Like it's that simple. Like it's, that the greatest editors in the world just download a piece of software and put some video files into it, and that's it. Like the gap is simply that you just don't know how to use the software. That's
right.
That's why they're good at it. You just don't know. Well, just like so with software development, same deal. It's like, everybody's like, oh my God, I've built my big thing and I've done my I don't need a programmer anymore. And I'm like, yeah, until it stops working.
Yeah.
Until you get into a user experience hole you can't get yourself out of, and you don't know how to conceptualize out of it, until you don't know how to express data roll-ups and all this sort of stuff. Like, until then, and then you really need it,
Yeah.
So I'm getting into training models and understanding like what can be done on local devices, because I do think the empowerment mechanic of digesting information is where all the value lies. I kind of don't care a ton about what it creates, although that is amazing. I'm really fascinated by how it can help people understand things they otherwise just can't, because it's just incredible in that way.
Its ability to, personally, it's walked me through tech that I hadn't been able to figure out yet. And it was like, oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
It's also recommended books that don't exist to me. So
it's actually prompting you to write it.
Yes.
It's like, that's actually what it's doing. It's thinking in ways you can't. It's saying, Tim, this is a book you should write.
You want this book, Tim.
You want this book,
You should
Tim.
write it.
That's right. That's right. Write the book, Tim.
Yeah. That's a good point.
See, it's smarter than you and you don't realize it.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But like you said, its ability to explain stuff is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. But I think it'd be curious. I'm curious, like where are you seeing it in the event world though? Like what is it? What role is it playing?
Okay, so almost all of our cameras now do auto tracking, and it's really good. Like,
really?
Yeah. I mean, you can still fake it out, duck down behind the podium and crawl off, and it will have lost you. But yeah, and then we're using it in. We can use it to an extent for some quality control.
Like in what way? Like in terms of
so we're creating hundreds of videos at a time. And knowing that the person that we think is in that video is actually in that video is important. Because sometimes, speakers can't make it. They ask their colleague to fill in for them. And all of a sudden you've got a video labeled Joe and it's really Matt,
So I have to tell you a funny story being an actor from a long, long time ago. So it has nothing to do with AI, but it's exactly this. So in 2003 or 4, I was doing a show, or I was asked with 2 weeks to spare to step in to do a show called Swing. Okay. And to be one of a quartet of singers. Now, I was replacing, this is a point in my life, which it probably still is true, where I said yes to anything because I was like, yeah, sure, I can do it, absolutely. Yeah. And it was like the lead male singer in Swing. And so it was the whole 9 yards. And I had no idea. And I mean, I didn't really know, right? I had no clue. Yeah. So I show up to the rehearsal. Now it's 2 weeks. I got noticed because it was a flight issue that I was going to be an understudy because of a risk that on New Year's Eve, his flight could get canceled. But He was like, yeah, come on as an understudy and you'll make $200 or something. 2 weeks before I get called in to do rehearsal and I don't show up with a tape recorder or nothing. And the music director's like, okay, well, how are you going to remember this? I was like, I don't know. Here we go. So I pulled it off. And so then I got a call the night of, I got a call that sure enough, his flight got screwed up and he couldn't make it. And I had to go on. It was at the Criterion and it was packed. So we're talking, 1,200 seats or something? Packed. And I can sing, but I'm not a quote unquote singer. Okay. Right?
Yes.
So I had done this and I am freaked out of my mind. I'm like, but I'm going to pull it off. I'm an actor. I'm going to make this happen. Mm-hmm. So I do the show and it works. I pull it off. I'm like, I can't believe, like something within me, like everything like shined its beautiful light down on me. And I delivered. After the fact, the original singer he reached out to me a couple of weeks later. His name's Tom Prislak. He reached out to me and goes, hey, I have to tell you, I got so many compliments for your performance. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, they printed my name in the program. They had no clue that Adam Cuppy pulled it off. And they thought Tom Prislak was in fact the one who had succeeded in this production. And nope, it was me and nobody knew it. So anyway, that's my story about being misunderstood.
Yes.
So I'm so glad that you're doing that. In other words, just to say it.
Yeah. Wow, that's fun. Did it ever get sorted out?
Oh, no. He took all the credit.
Yeah.
I just got my $200 for a packed house. Yeah.
Oh, that's killer.
Well. Yeah, it was like the head of the music department had reached out and said, wow, Tom, you did great. The whole 9 yards. I was like, all right, well, whatever. Apparently, I'm not meant to be a singer because even though I did fine.
That's intense. Well, hey, I know we both got busy days today, so I don't want to take much more of your time, but thank you. This has been fun. And we should do it again or get together for coffee or,
Yeah, all the above. Well, I think it's very fascinating. I mean, I guess in a closing thought is I certainly think that having been on the organizing side, but having come from being an actor, and I don't know if this is valuable for any of your listeners or not, the principles that I believe could be followed better, or my principle around a good conference and event, certainly centers around recognizing and fully understanding why people are there, and to recognize that oftentimes they will tell you one thing, but it's very clear that that's not the reason. So again, this example of like, oh, I want to get really good content. Well, yes, but you'll notice that the volume of people that use this as an opportunity to network and create connection is incredibly high.
Yeah.
And the other side of it too is to remember, and thinking back to that Australian conference and the ones that I've participated in before, that there's just a lot of sitting at a conference, and there just is. And the more you can physically, I mean, there's so much psychology behind this, not just to mention intuition. Like the more sitting there is, the less absorption there is. And so the more activation in the body you can bring to a conference, even as simple as, creating some sort of space of movement, right? Don't keep the track in the same room, right? Like move things around the space so that people are literally getting up and moving their body. It makes a massive difference on the uptick. The last thing I will say is this: remember that the worst place to put a speaker is after lunch and at the end of the last day. So I would very, very often get used as the hook to keep people there. And and I don't say this egotistically as much as it did work, because I was known as an entertainer, but also to remember that that is the weakest point in time, and you have to make that time super intentional. Like after lunch, I don't know what the number is, but I guess it's got to be 10 to 20% of people just don't show up because they're going to have an extended lunch. So if you've got critical content, don't put it there, because it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
But get people moving around is the big one. It's like, just don't get them locked into a seat. They're just going to pop their laptop open.
Yeah. Or their phone.
Or their phone. Yeah. I would have tricks. I loved speaking because I had a whole set of tricks. One of my favorites was, and this comes from theater games.
Okay.
Is you do stand up if. So it's a simple thing for speakers, right? And you do like 3 different questions, and the first question is the easiest, most a welcoming one, like stand up if you have a sibling, right? Right. Stand up if you're married, things like that.
Yeah.
And then you end with something that's related to the content, so it mentally engages everybody into why we're here. So as an example, if your content is about AI, stand up if within the last 30 minutes you used AI to find a fact that wasn't a fact, right? And you're like, oh, and then you're like, ha 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 ha, and then you get into it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you can just get people physically into their body, the experience and the uptick, and I guarantee it that like reviews will come back substantially better, even if they don't realize it. It's just get them into their body. Just makes such a difference.
That is a killer idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me want to hear the rest of your tricks.
I know. I got more. You should watch my talks. I actually go into my tricks. I go into my tricks in a couple of my talks. So it's for fun.
I'll have to look them up.
Yeah, you will. All right. Well, I'm happy to be here, Tim. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Thank you. See you, man.
Bye.
Bye.